I'm Steven Dickens and you're joining us here on another episode of the HyperFRAME podcast. I'm joined by my dear friend, Keith Townsend. Hey Keith.
Steven, good to see you, man. It's I'm in your world, man. It's weird. Like this is,
Former
those
IBM,
like you can wield this big convention center to whatever you need it to be. It's your world, man.
It has been fun this week catching up with my for the viewers. I spent 10 years working at IBM, so a lot of friends, a lot of people who I respect, and spending some time with them has been great. So what's been the takeaways for you? I mean, it's been a drop of random kind of, there's been Hashi announcements, there's been an Anthropic announcement, they've announced an accelerator card for the mainframe and power. I mean, it's been a bunch of drops from IBM.
Yeah, IBM is a weird company like that, right? Mm-hmm. You might know them specifically for the one technology that you're interested in, but they're into chips, they're into software, they're into IT infrastructure, they're into business logic, they're into business consulting. So many sessions.
Are they the most diverse, do you think?
You know what?
Because we got AWS, we got Google.
There used to be HP when HP was all of those services and combined. Dell used to go after the services business, but IBM by far is the most diverse. When I'm looking through the schedule and if you have a technology interest, there was a session here for you.
Quantum computing, deep science, silicon, the Spire announcement, which is a DPU for mainframes and power boxes, right through to consulting sessions, cloud cost management. I mean, they cover the whole gamut, right?
You can go as deep into SAP as you would want to. Yep. IBM is a big SAP partner and competitor. DB2 went into a session talking about VMware cost optimization, where you had the IBM Cloud guys pitching Red Hat virtualization stack, Red Hat OpenShift. It was it is a big show. We did not mention Red Hat and Hashi and Aptio and a bunch of the big acquisitions they've made over the last 5 or 6 years. It's almost too big. It's one of the challenges is finding your community. But 100%. Once you find your community within this larger community, it is a fascinating show.
And they've done a good job, I think. This is now 10,000 people, apparently.
You know what he said a couple of years ago, it was only 2,000.
Yeah, this is year 3.
Year 3.
To build a community like that
10, to have enough value. Again, this is a tough sell for customers. They're not coming here for one big thing. They're coming here for the umbrella of IBM, which may just be a small portion of their portfolio. It could be a huge portion of their landscape.
What I like is the way that IBM's got Think, its conference that it does earlier on in the year, which is kind of now become the executive conference, like the decision makers, the CTOs, CIOs, CISOs, and this is the practitioner conference.
Yeah, I went to Think, I think it was last year, year before last, and I sat down with a warehouse manager who was there, not a technologist, talking about doing digital twin. This is the show where you talk about the technology behind the digital twin and how do you actually implement the thing that she thought up 2 years ago.
So I've been watching you on LinkedIn, you've been talking about what you've been doing, we were chatting about it off camera, getting into the developer experience. You're fantastic at this. Mm-hmm. If you're not following the CTO advisor, you absolutely should. Really, from that practitioner lens, you were up until like the wee hours.
I was up to about 3:30, 4 o'clock this morning, just
you went deep nerd.
I was in deep nerd. I took WatsonX, their discovery, which is kind of their indexing and search, which has all these enterprise guardrails and features. I fine-tuned the Granite database a Granite model on my voice. Then IBM Cloud's serverless Kubernetes. I was scaffolding and doing all the cool things.
We talked about it just briefly. You're an AWS guy, you're a Google guy, you're a Microsoft guy, you're on all those cloud platforms. How do you compare? I look at it sort of through the typical analyst lens.
Like
I'm kind of
market share.
We'd come at this, and this is why it's always fascinating to talk to you. I'm looking at it from messaging and positioning and market share and overall competitive landscape. You're looking at it like deep in the weeds, pulling apart these platforms, what the user experience is, what their developer experience is. How do you compare?
Yeah, I was just talking to one of the other practitioners in the Terraform space, and he was asking me the same question. He was like, Keith, we ran into each other in Google Cloud community and the AWS community. I've never touched IBM Cloud. What do you think? It's a cloud. But just like the other clouds, its niche is the enterprise. And I think this nuanced difference between the other clouds and IBM is a great example, which is kind of what the other cloud called their free tier, and IBM Cloud calls it their light tier. The other cloud providers will basically let you run amok, and you can have a $500 to a $10,000 AWS bill.
And it can just run, and then you get a bill at the end of the month.
And you're like, wow, I'm surprised. That's not going to happen with IBM Cloud. You're not going to. It will limit what you can do so that you can stay within the guardrails of the tier of service that you subscribe to. So if you want to kick the tires, it's literally kicking the tires. You won't do an application as complicated as the one that I'm writing, but that's good if you want the guardrails.
And how do you find it from a user experience, like breadth of services? You were talking about serverless and Kubernetes, running a large language model on there, RAG, I'm assuming, and how do you find it?
There's minimum viable products, and I've kind of dinged Broadcom on this, on when they talk about private cloud, and I think this is the best way to describe it. It's much more of a cloud than VMware Cloud Foundation is of a cloud. And there's minimum services that I expect. IAM across, which is identity management, across all of the cloud platform. There's mature storage services, specifically object storages services. There's Kubernetes, Cloud Engine, serverless. And then there's the abstracted databases and all these abstracted services you kind of expect from a modern cloud. IBM has all of those minimum components.
So, I mean, if we're speaking to your audience, that practitioner, that somebody who's like, maybe they're AWS native, they're GCP native, maybe they've not looked at IBM Cloud, but they've seen one service or their line of business is maybe using Maximo or they're using Tririga. Like there's one. What would you say to them about how to kind of get started and think about it?
I think IBM Cloud leans into this hybrid cloud idea, right? Mm-hmm. That you're not, all of other applications that I've built in the past have either been all on AWS or all in GCP, and maybe I might have some interoperability with, sending a blog post or data from one service to the other. IBM Cloud embraces that. So if you're looking at something like a Granite, you're looking at WatsonX, and IBM has done this purposefully. They've compartmentalized WatsonX from IBM Cloud. They're integrated, but compartmentalized. So if you just want to deal with WatsonX and train a Granite model and use that, you can do that. I trained two models, the 8 billion parameter and 13 billion parameter model in 13 minutes. In WatsonX on 150 questions that I put towards it. And you can use that model in GCP. You can use it in AWS. You can make, they automatically publish public endpoints so you can integrate the service with other public clouds.
Kind of playing more in that hybrid landscape, on-prem, other clouds. They kind of, I saw this from IBM probably 3 or 4 years ago. I think they realized their place in the overall market and went, we're not going to be that first destination when, like an AWS or a GCP would kind of, or Azure for that matter, would kind of position. They're trying to fight to be the first, the biggest, the best, the cloud that you. I think IBM's been more thoughtful of going, we've got a set of things, we've got a hybrid story, we'll play nice with the other cloud providers. There's a lot of AWS have got a booth here. They're talking about what they're doing. There's that, it's a lot more pragmatic for you, I think.
It's a lot more pragmatic. And then they have that first party view as well for when it's needed. If you have a DB2 application that's running your manufacturing and it's running in IBM Cloud, you want services that's close to it with low latency, and IBM is giving you that minimum set of services. So if you want an all IBM Cloud experience, you can have that all IBM Cloud experience, but they're not everywhere, right? So, here in the US, I'm using a data center out of Dallas.
Yeah.
If I want to use something out of Virginia, I can use either Google Cloud or AWS. And I think this is the thing that IBM has this hidden gem. They're on their hybrid cloud offering. They actually have a compartmentalized what we now call the looking for the word, it's the clouds, the
Cross connect or?
No, when you have your own private cloud. I stayed up too late.
You're good, man.
Yeah, IBM has this, private cloud, this public private cloud offering where you can get the compartmentalized IBM Cloud full feature service inside of your data center or wherever you want.
Like a satellite.
Just a satellite offering. So it's a pretty robust solution from a hybrid. If you're hybrid first, this and probably OCI are the clouds you want to look at first.
So 2025 AI, where do you see Granite? You were just talking about you training some of the 13 and 8 billion parameter models. Where do you see Granite in comparison to those others?
Yeah, so I've run into the limitations just playing with it, in the past 12, 13, 14 hours. I've run into the limitations. If you're thinking about Granite and using Granite the same way you use an OpenAI or 400B, Llama, or any of those things, it's not designed for that. This is
more a small language model approach?
Small language model approach, but specifically if you think about agentic AI. So if we're thinking about domain specific stuff, obviously I can take a 8B or 13B and train it on my data set and it will do fine. But more specifically, lightweight things. We'll be able to run those types of things on these to do specific things.
It's a smaller model.
It's a small, so you think about point of sale systems, you're thinking about agentic and
where
customer service experience.
Constraints are a bit harder.
This is where, or in my use case, where I'm creating a virtual CTO advisor where you don't want it knowing about the recipe for pizza. You just want it to know about its specific domain.
It's very tight on what the training model is. It's very specific. You don't need all the rest of that.
And if you're thinking about enterprise guardrails, no, you don't want to give your users more data than they need to do their jobs. You want these confined constraints.
That for me is the takeaway. I think IBM's in this enterprise space, coming at it from a different lens. They're not on the frontier models trying to sort of create images and kind of cool videos. You can use it for that, but it's more around what are those business use cases and how do these kind of smaller, more tightly tuned, cheaper models make sense?
We've talked about this in the past that the IBM has always focused from the onset on smaller models, and we said that this will probably be the way. But if you think about it from a practical perspective, as your enterprises, what are the use cases for the large models?
Yeah.
I can think of less use cases for the large models.
It's really cool for me as a user to be able to create a nice image or to go search the internet or go agentically shop or do that. Those things are all really cool. Enterprise use case?
Yeah, if I want to, if I'm a logistics company and I want to put these things in every one of my vans, what does OpenAI's trillion model parameter give me that the smaller models like Granite and Mistral and all of that don't?
So if you had to summarize a couple of days here at TechXchange, just down into a final few thoughts, what would they be, Keith?
You know what? Engage the IBM community. They are really investing in the community. The team that led community at HashiCorp is now leading community at IBM.
Pick that one up.
And that has been huge. So as you're trying to figure this out, there's nothing like sitting next to builders who are tasked with figuring this stuff out. I think IBM community is the place to watch after this. I think after this, I'm actually going to go and join IBM community and actively participate in it.
Just seeing a technical conference go from 2,000 to 10,000 participants and registrants in 3 years proves they've cracked something.
They have cracked something.
Well, guys, you've been watching the HyperFRAME podcast. Please click, subscribe, do all the things. Check out the CTO advisor if you're not a follower. Keith's fantastic, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.